Muscle loss after 60 isn't just about aging. It's about messaging. When the body stops receiving the right biochemical signals to maintain muscle mass, it begins to break it down slowly, quietly, and relentlessly. This process has a name, sarcopenia, and it starts earlier than most people realize. But what few people know is that muscle isn't lost because of age. It's lost because of inflammation, nutrient deficiency, and hormonal miscommunication. And here's the surprising truth. One of the most effective weapons to fight it may already be in your fridge. Cheese. For years, cheese has been painted with a broad, fear-based brush. Too fatty, too salty, too indulgent. But that narrative missed something vital. Because when you choose the right kinds of cheese, ones rich in bioavailable amino acids, slow-digesting proteins, and probiotic compounds, you're not feeding indulgence. You're feeding your muscles, your metabolism, and your longevity. I'm Dr. James Whitaker, and I've been a practicing urologist for 25 years. In my practice, I've seen thousands of men and women struggle with the devastating effects of muscle loss after 60. But I've also discovered something remarkable. The patients who maintain their strength, energy, and independence well into their 80s and 90s share certain nutritional habits that most doctors completely overlook. Sarcopenia is more than weakness. It's a biological shift where muscle is replaced by fat, where mitochondria slow, and where insulin resistance begins to creep in. The body's largest metabolic organ, skeletal muscle, begins to fade. And when that happens, every system pays the price. Balance declines, blood sugar rises, bone density suffers, and most critically, resilience disappears. But the solution is not simply to exercise more. It's to give your body the raw materials it needs to repair what's fading. Protein is the cornerstone of that repair, but not all protein is created equal. What matters most is a specific amino acid called leucine, the trigger switch for muscle protein synthesis. Without enough leucine, the body cannot rebuild muscle no matter how much total protein you consume. And here's where cheese steps in. Certain cheeses, especially aged varieties, casein-rich options, and goat-based selections, contain high concentrations of leucine, glutamine, calcium, vitamin K2, and even beneficial probiotics that reduce inflammation in the gut, which is directly linked to muscle preservation. What's remarkable is that cheese does more than just provide protein. It slows digestion, promotes a nighttime repair, and stabilizes blood sugar. Three things that are absolutely critical for maintaining lean tissue as you age. And unlike fast-burning proteins like whey or meat, certain cheeses deliver a time-release stream of amino acids, allowing the body to stay in a reparative state longer, especially during sleep when growth hormone peaks. The key isn't eating more cheese. It's eating the right kind of cheese in the right context. When paired with light movement, morning sunlight, and restorative sleep, cheese becomes a tool of healing, not harm. This is nutritional synergy in action. And for people over 60, it's a missing link in the fight against frailty. So if you've been told to cut cheese out of your life, it's time to rethink that advice. Because when it's carefully chosen, cheese doesn't burden the body, it nourishes it. It delivers the very compounds your muscles are begging for, and it helps you flip the switch that says, grow again. But let's now look at why muscle disappears in the first place and how it has far less to do with aging and far more to do with a broken biological rhythm. Sarcopenia isn't something you feel all at once. It's not an injury. It doesn't make headlines in your blood work. It's something that sneaks in quietly, steadily, until one day getting out of a chair feels harder. Stairs take more effort, and your strength simply isn't what it used to be. But here's the truth. This isn't just aging. It's a shift in how your body allocates its resources. And the good news is that you can change the message. By the time we reach our 60s, our muscle mass begins to decline at a rate of about 1 to 2% per year, unless we actively intervene. That may sound small, but over a decade, it adds up to a loss of strength, mobility, and metabolic protection. Why does it happen? Because after midlife, the body becomes less efficient at converting protein into muscle. Anabolic resistance begins to rise, meaning we need more of the right type of protein more frequently to maintain the same level of repair. And that's not all. Hormonal shifts play a major role. Testosterone, estrogen, growth hormone, and IGF-1, all vital for muscle retention, begin to drop. At the same time, inflammation increases, oxidative stress builds, and the gut becomes less effective at absorbing amino acids. This is the biological terrain of sarcopenia, a perfect storm of lowered repair signals and increased breakdown signals. But there's one more layer, and it's one most people overlook. Muscle is not just tissue, it's an endocrine organ. It releases signaling molecules called myokines that communicate with the brain, the liver, even the immune system. When you lose muscle, you don't just lose mass, you lose messaging. You become more vulnerable to insulin resistance, cognitive decline, and immune dysfunction. And that's why sarcopenia is now recognized as a major contributor to early aging, and why fighting it is not optional. It's essential. The good news, sarcopenia is not irreversible. In fact, the body is wired to respond quickly when it receives the right inputs. Resistance training, even light body weight movement, triggers muscle protein synthesis. But that process only works if you have the right amino acids in circulation, and specifically enough leucine to flip the biological switch. This is where cheese re-enters the story because certain cheeses, especially those we'll explore in the next sections, deliver precisely the nutrients your aging body needs. High-quality, slow-digesting protein rich in leucine, glutamine, and calcium. These nutrients not only support muscle regeneration, they also enhance sleep, regulate blood sugar, and lower inflammation, creating the internal environment required for muscle to grow. Sarcopenia thrives on neglect, but it retreats in the presence of biological awareness. Once you understand the forces driving muscle erosion, you can begin to counter them, not with pills or panic, but with precision nutrition and movement. The first step is knowing what your body's asking for. The second is giving it consistently, rhythmically, and in sync with your hormonal flow. In the next section, we'll explore the first cheese that does exactly that, one that's rich in leucine, mineral-dense, and naturally lactose-free. Let's talk about aged Parmesan, the ancient cheese that your muscles still recognize as fuel. Not all proteins are equal, and not all cheeses are created to heal. But one cheese, crafted by hand, aged with time, and biologically aligned with what your muscles crave, is aged Parmesan, known as Parmigiano Reggiano. This ancient food is more than a flavor enhancer. It's a nutritional weapon against sarcopenia. Let's start with the biology. Parmesan is extremely high in leucine, the amino acid your body needs to trigger muscle protein synthesis. Leucine acts like a light switch. Without it, your body doesn't get the signal to rebuild muscle, no matter how much protein you eat. But with the right dose, especially in a form that's easily absorbed, you activate the mTOR pathway, your body's key regulator of cellular growth and repair. Aged Parmesan delivers that leucine in a concentrated, bioavailable form. And because it's naturally aged for 12 to 36 months, it undergoes a fermentation process that breaks down lactose and predigests the casein protein. That means it's easier to digest, gentler on the gut, and more readily absorbed. Especially important for adults over 60 whose digestive enzyme production has declined. But Parmesan does more than just fuel muscles. It's also rich in calcium, phosphorus, and vitamin K2, nutrients that support bone density, another silent threat to aging adults. Muscle and bone are intimately connected. As you move, muscle pulls on bone, strengthening it. But without adequate calcium and K2, bones become brittle, even if your muscles stay strong. Parmesan fills both needs. In 1 ounce, you get over 30% of your daily calcium needs, plus a boost of K2, which directs that calcium into the bone, not the arteries. There's another dimension to this cheese, its role in reducing inflammation. During the aging process, Parmesan produces bioactive peptides, including casomorphins and lactoil, tripeptides which have been shown to reduce blood pressure and support vascular function. That matters because muscle can't grow in an inflamed environment. Blood flow is key, oxygen is key, and Parmesan quietly supports both. Now the key is timing and context. Parmesan isn't a meal, It's a functional addition, a tool. Sprinkle it on roasted vegetables, fold it into an omelet, or pair it with fiber-rich whole foods like lentils or arugula. When eaten in the evening, its slow-digesting protein can support overnight muscle repair, especially when paired with light movement earlier in the day. That synergy, movement primes the muscle, and Parmesan feeds the recovery. It also fits beautifully into metabolic flexibility. Unlike fast-burning carbs or sugary protein shakes, Parmesan slows glucose absorption, keeping your insulin stable. And stable insulin is essential for both fat burning and muscle retention. Think of it as a metabolic buffer, giving your body the steady fuel it needs to shift from breakdown to buildup. For those concerned about sodium, context matters. A small serving of aged Parmesan delivers flavor, protein, and bioactives without spiking your blood pressure when consumed alongside potassium-rich foods, hydration, and balanced meals. The problem isn't Parmesan, it's the ultra-processed foods that dominate most diets. When used intentionally, Parmesan becomes medicine. There's a reason centenarians in Italy still consume Parmigiano well into their 90s. It's nutrient-dense, anti-inflammatory, and deeply supportive of longevity. This isn't a snack, it's biochemical support for your muscle blueprint. The same blueprint your body still remembers, still responds to, and still wants to rebuild if you feed it wisely. Next, we'll unlock a different kind of cheese, one that doesn't just build muscle, but also supports deep sleep and hormone repair. It's the quiet powerhouse that works while you rest. Cottage cheese. There's a window of time every night when the body does its deepest repair work. Growth hormone rises, muscles are rebuilt, and inflammation drops. But that window only opens when two things are present: deep, undisturbed sleep and the right building blocks in your bloodstream. That's where cottage cheese steps in, not as a bedtime snack, but as a nighttime therapy for aging muscles. Let's start with the science. Cottage cheese is rich in casein protein, a slow-digesting form of protein that provides a steady release of amino acids over several hours. While whey protein spikes and falls quickly, casein drips steadily into the bloodstream, precisely what the body needs during the overnight anabolic window when tissue repair and hormone synthesis peak. And it's not just about protein. Cottage cheese contains tryptophan, an amino acid precursor to serotonin and melatonin, the brain chemicals that help you relax, fall asleep, and stay in restorative stages of sleep longer. For people over 60, sleep becomes lighter and more fragmented, especially with hormone shifts and nighttime urination. By eating cottage cheese 60 to 90 minutes before bed, you gently support melatonin production while simultaneously providing fuel for muscle recovery. What's happening behind the scenes is profound. During deep sleep, especially during the first half of the night, growth hormone GH surges. GH is not just for children or athletes. It plays a critical role in cellular regeneration, collagen repair, immune modulation, and muscle growth in older adults. But GH is only released when sleep is deep and uninterrupted. The slow-digesting protein from cottage cheese helps stabilize blood sugar, preventing nighttime crashes that wake you up. It also keeps your body in an anabolic or building state rather than slipping into catabolism, the breakdown state that fuels sarcopenia. What makes cottage cheese so unique is its nutrient density. A single serving delivers 25 grams of protein along with calcium, phosphorus, selenium, and vitamin B12, all of which are critical for nerve signaling, metabolism, and skeletal support. It also contains live cultures depending on the brand, which support gut health, a foundational aspect of inflammation control and nutrient absorption. But not all cottage cheese is created equal. Look for organic, full-fat varieties, ideally those with live probiotics and no added gums or stabilizers. The fat content helps with the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins and also helps prolong the satiety signal so you don't wake up hungry in the middle of the night. For women post-menopause and men over 60, nighttime is when the body resets hormonal rhythms: testosterone, estrogen, cortisol, melatonin, all of which influence muscle tissue retention and metabolic clarity. Supporting this process with the right type of protein before bed is a form of nutritional alignment. You're not forcing the body to grow. You're giving it what it's already asking for. And if you add a few walnuts rich in omega-3s and magnesium, or a spoon of tart cherry concentrate, a natural melatonin booster, you create a therapeutic blend that enhances both sleep quality and muscle preservation. Cottage cheese isn't just food. It's a tool, a gentle intervention, one that signals to your body, even while you sleep, we're still building. In the next section, we'll look at a completely different type of cheese, one that's easier to digest, less inflammatory, and uniquely suited to sensitive guts and aging metabolisms. This one comes from the mountains, and it may be your key to hormonal balance and metabolic energy. Goat cheese. By the time we reach our 60s, digestion slows, enzyme production drops, the gut barrier thins, and foods we once tolerated begin to create bloating, fatigue, or inflammation, especially dairy. But not all dairy is created equal. Some forms work with the body, not against it. And one of the most powerful examples is goat cheese. Unlike cow's milk cheese, goat cheese contains a different type of casein protein, specifically a 2-casein, which is structurally closer to human breast milk and significantly less inflammatory. For individuals with sensitive digestion, bloating, or autoimmune tendencies, a 1-casein from standard dairy can trigger low-grade immune responses. A 2-casein, on the other hand, is gentler on the gut, less likely to provoke inflammation, and better tolerated by aging digestive systems. But digestion is just the beginning. Goat cheese is also rich in medium-chain fatty acids, MCFAs, especially caproic, caprylic, and capric acid, which are metabolized differently from long-chain fats. These MCFAs are quickly converted into energy, not stored as fat. This provides a steady source of metabolic fuel, making goat cheese not only muscle-friendly, but also fat-burning friendly for people over 60 dealing with insulin resistance or sluggish energy. This can be a game changer. What makes goat cheese so relevant for muscle health is its combination of bioavailable protein, anti-inflammatory fats, and probiotic compounds. These work together to create an internal environment that supports lean tissue repair, mitochondrial function, and gut-brain hormone signaling. Let's take a closer look at the gut connection. Emerging science has shown a profound link between the microbiome and muscle mass, what researchers now call the gut-muscle axis. A diverse, healthy gut microbiome improves nutrient absorption, reduces chronic inflammation, and regulates hormones that affect muscle preservation like testosterone, IGF-1, and estrogen. Goat cheese, especially when made from raw or fermented milk, contains beneficial probiotics like Lactobacillus acidophilus and Bifidobacterium, which help rebuild gut diversity. For those navigating postmenopausal changes, andropause, or metabolic fatigue, this matters because without gut health, even the best protein sources go unused. Goat cheese uniquely bridges the gap between nourishment and absorption. It's also rich in calcium, phosphorus, vitamin A, and trace minerals like selenium and magnesium, all essential cofactors in enzymatic repair, nerve conduction, and muscle contraction. These nutrients don't just support physical strength. They help stabilize mood, reduce stress, and promote restful sleep, and all of them are delivered in a small, digestible portion. Goat cheese can be used in a variety of ways. Spread on flaxseed crackers, crumbled into salads with olive oil, paired with walnuts and arugula for a nutrient-dense midday reset. It's not about volume, it's about precision. A few ounces strategically placed in your routine delivers more than just flavor. It delivers function. And most importantly, it delivers tolerance. For aging adults who struggle with bloating, joint pain, or post-meal fatigue from traditional dairy, goat cheese offers the freedom to fuel without the aftermath. That's not just convenience, it's quality of life. Your body doesn't want more food, it wants better information, food that speaks the language of your biology. Goat cheese does exactly that. It's quiet, it's potent, and it's metabolically aligned with what your 60-plus body is trying to achieve: balance, repair, and renewal. In the final section, we'll bring all three cheeses together and show how to strategically combine them with light movement, sleep rhythm, and anti-inflammatory principles to not just prevent sarcopenia, but to reverse it. Muscle is not about youth. It's about signaling. Even after 60, your body still holds the blueprint to build strength, repair tissue, and generate energy. The question is, are you sending the right signals? Because sarcopenia doesn't happen from age. It happens from neglect, from inflammatory inputs, and from a lack of precision in how we feed, move, and rest. But the moment you realign your daily rhythm with biology, everything changes. Let's bring it all together. Start your day with movement, nothing extreme. A brisk walk, a few squats, maybe 10 minutes of dynamic stretching. This sends a message to your muscle fibers. We're awake, we're in use, stay strong. Then support that message with a small breakfast rich in protein, a slice of goat cheese with hard-boiled eggs and greens, or cottage cheese with walnuts and a sprinkle of turmeric. This anchors your morning in amino acids and anti-inflammatory fats, setting your metabolic tone for the day. Midday, support your gut and mitochondria. Aged Parmesan grated over a quinoa salad, roasted vegetables, or even into a warm lentil soup. You're not just feeding flavor, you're feeding your body a slow-release stream of leucine, calcium, and vitamin K2. These nutrients don't just build muscle, they stabilize blood sugar, support bone strength, and keep cortisol in check. And in the evening, close the loop. Give your body the fuel it needs to repair overnight. This is where cottage cheese shines. A few spoonfuls an hour before bed delivers slow-digesting casein protein, tryptophan, and sleep-supportive minerals like selenium and phosphorus. You're not just filling your stomach. You're preparing your muscles to heal while you sleep. Then rest. Prioritize deep, uninterrupted sleep. No screens an hour before bed. Dim the lights. Lower the room temperature. Let your parasympathetic system take over, because this is when your muscles receive growth hormone. This is when your mitochondria repair, and this is when your body shifts from defense mode into regeneration. All the while, remember this. You're not trying to get back to your 20s. You're optimizing your 60s, 70s, and beyond. This is about living with strength, not just in your body, but in your choices. Cheese in this context becomes more than food. It becomes strategy. Aged Parmesan for daytime muscle. Support. Cottage cheese for overnight recovery. Goat cheese for gut balance and anti-inflammatory stability. Each has a role. Each supports your biology. And together they form a system that speaks to your body in a language it understands. Protein, fat, minerals, and timing. Sarcopenia thrives in silence, in stillness, in the absence of input. But it retreats when you move, nourish, and align your day with your body's needs. You don't need to eat more. You need to eat with intention. You don't need to work harder. You need to work with your biology. This isn't about shortcuts. It's about signals. And once you send the right ones consistently, daily, wisely, your body responds. So let this be your strategy. Move first, nourish smart, sleep deep, repeat. Because strength is not a memory. It's a message. And you can send that message starting today with food that heals.